Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
This is 476 Barbary, right?
Yeah, I'm renting this place.
No, I booked it a month ago.
Are you sure you have the right place?
Yeah. What am I supposed to do?
Why don't you come inside and we'll call these idiots.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast That Wouldn't Die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Oh my God. I was just listening to our podcast of frogs, and I must say, I cracked myself. Is that wrong? As long as I'm entertained, then it's okay.
People do not want to hear how funny we think we are. Sweet Jesus. We're such
That alone
narcissists.
makes me laugh.
Each week on the podcast, we discuss guilty
Derailed
pleasures.
immediately.
Totally derailed. Guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the horror and sci-fi genre with a comedic twist. This week, we'll be discussing the new classic, Barbarian, starring the guy who plays Pennywise and Justin Long. So there you go. It's an all-star cast. I could look up the actor's name, but I'm not doing it right now. And frankly, I didn't even know Justin Long was in this until like halfway through the movie. I'm like, oh, is he in this? So.
I honestly wasn't even going to see this. This wasn't on my radar because I just don't go to the movies that often. I was like, oh, this looks horrifying. Anything where they build it as the scariest movie of the year usually is pure shit. But then I saw it had like a 90-something% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's how it got thrown in the mix.
Absolutely. Well, and this happens from time to time where we're kind of compelled to see the latest. Because, I mean, sadly, you know, once the school year starts, I don't get to go to the movies as often as I like. I mean, in August, I saw Crawdads, I saw Mrs. Harris, I saw things I didn't want to see. In all
sounds
honesty.
like that whole list of stuff that nobody wants to see.
I saw Hunk for Jesus. I saw that Diane Keaton movie where she turns into a young woman, or no, she's a young woman who becomes an old woman. Yes, I saw all the old people.
My God, these are just a series of peri and full-blown menopausal movies.
1,000 Years of Longing, saw that as well. It was
God, this is just the estrogen just washes over you, Kevin.
This is how we do when it's August and we're home from vacation. So there you go. Good times.
My God, even I, I have nothing more to say. You know your shame.
I'm luxuriating in my shame. But I have to say, it's like, I saw the ads for this and I'm like, ooh, this looks creepy. But you're right. If you hadn't seen it and given it the thumbs up, I probably wouldn't have gone to see it. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, so often they pump out all these slasher things that are just bullshit. So I just dismiss them outright unless somebody now comes to me.
Word of mouth. No question. I mean, I was telling you, it's like I managed to squeeze this in before back to school night, essentially, because I work like 45 minutes from home. So they're like, hey, it's a minimum day. Be back in 5 hours. I'm not driving all the way from Long Beach to Irvine. So it's like, my room's ready. I'm going to go see some Barbarian. And I saw it by myself. So there you go.
Terrifying.
I
think when I saw it, I literally had to sit near the front of the screen.
Well, because it was so full, or you were going blind, or what was happening?
Because, now you don't just roll in and park your carcass. Now you got to pick a seat.
That is true. That is true. Give us the 30-second synopsis of Barbarian.
Well, before we do that,
please.
The reason I brought up, when I was listening to our episode of Frogs, I was laughing at my tales of nutrias and snapping turtles, which reminded me was a similar thing happened to me this summer when I was in San Francisco. We were like a beach park in San Francisco, and these black shorebirds were diving, pulling up these giant fish, like right at the shore. And this one had skewered it. So there's a giant fish, but he had pierced it with his bill. So now it's like stuck. Then I swear to God, the ocean parted and a giant gray thing rose up, opened its mouth, snapped, and pulled the fish right off of this bird. I thought we'd lost half a bird too. But it literally just rose up, snapped it, and disappeared. It was a freaking sea lion. Like right in front of us. Where was the video camera? This is like bodies. Where's my money shot?
Absolutely. Well, that's something different, but we're not going to.
Because we're like, oh, look at that poor bird. How's he going to get it off? And we're like, what the hell? We're like,
it was a great white.
It's a whole visual thing in an auditory platform. So,
I think people appreciate it. You're like Chick Hearn, the play-by-play. Every step of the way. Go ahead. Give us your 30
poor
seconds
old
synopsis.
Chick Hearn. I really want to be more like, what's his name, who got fired from doing the football?
Dennis Miller?
Yes! That's really my goal.
I was going to say Rush Limbaugh, who was also fired from doing football. Good Lord.
Not Rush Limbaugh. All right. 30 seconds of Barbarian.
Yep.
Airbnb goes crazy wrong, as usual. Don't go into a tunnel, no matter who the hell's screaming for help. Snap to the dude from the cell phone ads cruising around LA. Oh, you're fired because you're a rapist. Oh, no. It's all a misunderstanding. Whoops, it's his house. That's the Airbnb. Hey, guess what? Who's the barbarian? Maybe him. All bad things happen. Breastfeeding adults. That's all you need to know. Old leathery nipples. That's all.
All bad things happen. I think they should put that on the poster. No question. No question. I mean, we both of us saw ads for this movie, and really, you don't get much from the ads.
No. We're like, right. Who's the barbarian? What's the barbarian? I thought it was going to be like X and we'll just all figure this out. But literally, it's one of these fake outs where you think the movie's over and like a new movie's starting. It's like that Japanese movie we saw.
Yep.
Except it's not. There's still freaks in the channels.
Well, and because that's the thing about this movie. Having watched it, I left the theater going, this movie is dynamite. Dynamite. As the week passed, since I watched it, I have nothing but questions. Oh. It's starting to enter the us category where it's just like, wait a minute. Now that I've kind of had some time to marinate on this, still love it, but the questions are aplenty. Like there's a lot that doesn't make sense.
Why is it called Barbarian? Who's the barbarian? Is it Mr. Hollywood? Or is it the guy who lives in the chambers below the Airbnb in a burned out neighborhood with his old Betamax copies of women he's kidnapped and raped?
Oh, yes, this is a big spoiler alert. But I mean, literally, it's almost like it's two movies, isn't it? Let's just jump right in because
it's two movies that all take place in the same Airbnb.
That's correct. That's correct. I mean, I read this article by the writer or the director who said basically he read an article about how there are red flags that women pick up from skeevy dudes, essentially.
Right.
And how society has kind of forced women to ignore those red flags. Right?
Because they were hysterical. Right. Or, You don't want to wrongfully accuse or jump to conclusions, so you kind of ignore these red flags. So what the director did was write a script, which is the first half, of all the red flags. This woman just sees one red flag after another. And then after he's written that, he's just kind of like, you know what if I just throw a curveball in here that has nothing to do with the red flags at all? And then the red flags start over again, really.
Well, because that's the thing. It's like the red flags, we should say. So
the curveball is the people living downstairs, really.
Yes. The people under the stairs. The people under the stairs, that's the curveball. If only
it was the rocker dudes under the stairs, I would stay at that Airbnb. What is actually living in the tunnel? Are we to assume this dude just carved this all out himself?
Yes.
Sold the house and continues to live down below.
No question. I mean, when the reveal of the next morning that there's this beautiful house in what is a total post-apocalyptic neighborhood where every other house is totally destroyed. My question was like, so Justin Long bought this house in this neighborhood as an Airbnb? Who the
It was
hell is going to stay here?
Well, he probably bought it sight unseen as an investment, and he immediately flipped it over to like it's probably the first time he's seen it. It's a rental organization that's handling all of this.
Well, okay. So let's just set the stage here because you've got the protagonist whose name escapes me. She's shown up, did the Airbnb thing, and of course she can't get in. The key from the lockbox is missing, and there's a dude already staying there, basically. So
I
then
mean,
this whole
it's every nightmare you have. It's the middle of
yes,
the night. It's pouring rain. You don't know where you are, and you can't get into your Airbnb. And you immediately call, and you can't get through to anyone. Next
right,
thing you know, the lights are turning on in the house.
yes, and a dude comes out who seems questionable at best.
Yes,
He
he's
see like
questionable for the whole time,
for
even though in
basically the
the
whole
end he
time.
doesn't do anything. But he
Right.
is questionable.
He's questionable. Right. The grand reveal is he's just a dude. He's not a scary rapist. He's just a nice guy. And it's true, the Airbnb or whomever, the rental company just happened to double book. Right? Just
Right.
happened to double book. There's no nefarious purposes. It was just like, whoops, we screwed up. My bad. Okay. And all the red flags that she's picking up, where he's like, "Hey, I'm just gonna make you some tea. You want some tea? Let me make you some tea, but don't watch me make it. I'm gonna make it around the corner so you can't see. Oh, I know you're not drinking the tea. Oh, why don't you know what? You don't need to call any of the hotels. The hotels are all booked, and there's a big convention in town, right? All the red flags. Yeah, why don't you stay here? You don't want to stay out in your car. Oh no, not in this neighborhood. Stay here. You know what? Why don't you take the bed? You take the bed. I'll sleep out here. Right? All the red flags. Oh, somebody left a bottle of wine. Why don't we have some wine together?
Look,
Wine
I'll
sounds good,
open it in
doesn't it?
front of you. I'll open it in front of you. And she
Right.
drinks it.
Well, because he's drinking it too, but it could be like the Princess Bride, where he's like, over the years, I've developed an immunity to iocane powder. Right? Who knows? But that's the thing. It's a great premise of having all these red flags. But what it's revealed, he's just a dude. He's not a scary rapist. So here's my question to you. She goes to sleep that first night and she closes and locks the door. She wakes up in the middle of the night because she hears footsteps or whatever, and her door is open,
I
and
would have
there's the
never
dude
slept
asleep.
again. I would have never slept again.
Right. And he's having like night terrors or something on the couch, essentially.
It was you.
Now,
It's
it was
actually
me.
you.
I'm giving off the red flags. Now his night terrors are just, he's just having terrors. It's just a
Right.
thing that he does. It has nothing to do with anything. Who opened her door?
The people down below.
The scary, so they're not locked down below. The scary,
It's
okay,
not a lock. When they finally discover it, it's just a string that they pull to open it from the
okay.
outside. There's nothing to say you can't just open the door if you're on the inside.
Now there's the door that leads to the basement closes on its
And
own, like it's
locks,
spring
of
loaded,
course.
and it always locks, and there's no way to unlock it. But somehow, I mean, it could be the crazy woman, and people who have not seen this movie don't know what the hell we're talking about. Halfway through the movie, okay, she discovers a doorway in the basement where the long dark hall, and there's a room that's obviously, it's like a horrible stained mattress with a video camera and like a bloody handprint on the wall. So this is a bad room. This is a bad
room.
things have been happening in this room.
Bad.
Bad room. And then there's another reveal that there's another door in that hallway that's hidden that reveals like a now deeper underground passages where there's scary shit going on down there. Okay. So it's getting even deeper. So
I say she's not ignoring red flags. She's clearly just stupid.
At that point, she's nuts.
Yeah.
At that point, the moment you discover the rape room, the murder room, you leave.
You are crawling through broken glass. You don't give a shit if you're buck naked running down the street. You're out of
Hell
there no matter what. No
You
matter
are
what.
No question. Because she runs up the stairs and she's like, and of course the dude comes home at that moment. He's like, oh, no, don't leave yet. Let me, you know what? I'll check. You wait for me. I'd have been like, I met you yesterday. You seem like a nice guy. You can go. I am out of here.
Okay, quite frankly, no matter what happened, except I think she liked him and thought she was going to get busy. First of all, I would have not gone into the Airbnb. Second of all,
Yes.
if a rock had hit me in the head and I was unconscious and was forced to stay there, I would not have come back after my interview. I would have taken everything with me. Why is she coming back?
No. You're absolutely. I mean, you're absolutely right. The idea. This is Detroit. Okay, it's a major metropolitan city. There must be hundreds of hotels, motels, holiday inns. There's something there that she could find. She is
literally the person at the interview says, please tell me you're not staying in that part of town.
Right.
It's not safe. Oh no, what do you know? You just live here. No, it's all good.
Right. I mean, yes, she's blowing past all these red flags. Clearly, right? So then the dude goes down the hallway, and now she's like calling. Are you there? Because she hears like screams in the distance, kind of thing. And I kept thinking, I'm still not going in there.
Nope.
I'm still not going in there.
Well, what we skipped is
Go for it.
He goes, explores the tunnel, and she loses him. And then you hear him screaming for help. No. You're going to rescue him? No. You get in your car, you drive away, calling 911 on your way out.
Here's the thing.
If it took him down and he's like 6 feet tall and you're as small as a Tom Cruise, no. What are you going to do?
I don't care if you're a Navy SEAL or if you're Jackie Chan. I ain't going down that hallway. I'm not doing
Jackie Chan. Can you imagine the movie where Jackie Chan's the one that goes down that hallway?
That's a different movie.
And the old woman tries to breastfeed him?
It's a different slant.
But I
just kept thinking, no one knows you're down there. So if you get stuck, you're screwed. You're better off. You go get help. Because now you both have a chance. If you go down there and you get waylaid, you're both dead. Was what I kept thinking. Don't be a hero. Don't do it. So, but of course she does anyway. And she sees this scary guy, or he sees the guy and he's like, no, and he's like grabbing her, like, don't go that way. Don't, and even that's a red flag. Like, now I can't trust anything you're telling me. Because he's saying, don't go back the way you came. Because that's where the thing is, or whatever. And that's when there's the grand reveal. There's the ghostly figure approaching in the distance, grabs him, bashes his head against the wall, murders him. And that's where the first half ends. And it cuts to happy time music. Here's Justin Long driving down the PCH in his sports car, rocking. And you're like,
I was like, what? What's happening?
Yes. It was
shocking. It was a shocking cut. You're like, oh.
How's this going to tie together? Like, what's going to be the reveal? Because in my mind, I don't know why, I thought there was going to be some government conspiracy kind of situation where it's like, we've set this up to capture people in the house for some reason that was not revealed. I kept thinking there was going to be some conspiracy. Go ahead.
I thought it was going to be like 4 rooms, except it's going to be one Airbnb, like 4 stories of people who had the misfortune of staying at the Airbnb.
Oh, yeah. I could have seen that as well. Absolutely. So Justin Long's whole story is he's like the star of a new sitcom.
It was a pilot, right?
Pilot. You're right. Pilot that was destined to be picked up, but now, Me Too, he is now accused of raping his co-star, which of course he's like, that didn't happen. What are you talking about? This is ridiculous. But he has no money. So to have his
so
legal
he's
defense.
fired. No one believes him. You're fired.
Right.
The pilot is dead, and get ready because criminal charges are coming.
You could be right. He gets on a plane to fly to Detroit to unload some of his rental properties in Detroit. I guess he's from there originally.
Even
And
his
lawyer,
finance people are firing him. Everybody
Yes.
is offloading his business. He's got nobody. That's how
Yes.
bad he is. It's not like everybody's like, oh no, it couldn't have been him. Everybody's like, I'm handing you your files. Off.
He's radioactive.
Yeah.
He is radioactive. And when these kind of things happen in movies, you're kind of like, is he the bad guy or is it truly just a misunderstanding? What's going to be the reveal as we watch this movie? And there's that scene when he first arrives in Detroit and it's revealed he owns this property.
Right.
And he goes and meets up buddies at the bar, and the buddy's like, hey, bro, what happened? Whatever you tell me, I'll believe you. We're buddies, but what happened? We're hearing a lot of things. And he's like, no, it was totally consensual. Yes, she needed some convincing.
Oh yeah, that's always a classic. You're like, you son of a.
She needed some convincing.
So
at that point, you're like, oh, okay. Now it's all. Now he drunkenly calls her later and apologizes. I'm so sorry. I didn't want you to feel that way. What can I do? What's funny is earlier in the movie, he's talking to the lawyers. Lawyers like, whatever you do not call her because you can only make the situation worse.
Absolutely.
And again, you shouldn't have flown to Detroit anyway because the cops could be knocking on your door any minute.
Right. Basically, with this drunken phone call, they now have it on tape with him basically confessing to everything.
Right.
That's how stupid he is.
It was a bad situation. So he's like, I got to sell this place. How much square footage I have. When he discovers, I laughed out loud. When he discovers the secret place underneath, the rape murder room, his reaction is like, square feet. I can charge more for this. So he gets the tape measure, not bothered by the implications even a little bit.
It looks like freaking hostile downstairs. And he's like, great. Because quite frankly, you don't have to fly across the country to sell property in the United States.
Right. Exactly.
He's hiding out.
He's doing it. He was trying to save money on those broker's fees. I think is what it is.
For sale by owner, just a little sign out front in the burned out section of town.
In the burned out section of town. And it's like he's literally Googling like, can you count underground, tunnels as, square footage? Right. Totally.
Sex murder chambers as a guest room. Is it a casitas?
It's a casitas. And even as he's going down into the darkened earth, he's still got that tape measure.
He's measuring. He's like, ooh, wine cellars.
Right. Now, there's a couple times he's like, what the hell is this? Because he sees like what are essentially like dog cages with like a dog bowl in them. Like it's a kennel or something. Like, what the heck is this?
And not like one, like six.
No, multiple. And then there's that crazy flop house room where he's like, oh my goodness, the smell. And there's a little TV showing like clearly like how do you breastfeed your baby video, essentially. And at this point, I'm like, I give up. I have no idea what the hell is going on in this movie.
It's all going some way. And then the creature, the woman,
yes,
seems to be supernatural. And
seems to be supernatural.
I mean, why is she supernatural? Because, I mean, the story goes, this is the child produced from multiple incest, rape, crazy Chud people. And yet she's supernatural because there's no way she survives the things she survives.
That is correct. Now, okay, so he discovers there's the creature down in there, runs from it and falls in a pit, and the creature slams like the lid on the pit, basically. And then we find that the girl from the beginning of the movie is still alive in this pit, basically.
And this is where it goes from creepy to, oh my fucking God.
Oh, absolutely. So now it's 1980. because there's a lot of references to like Ronald Reagan has inherited the worst economy, blah, 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 blah. And there's a skeevy looking dude looking for baby stuff in terms of like diapers and stuff like that. He says, I also need like rubber mattress pads and things like that. And the lady's like, "Oh, are you expecting a baby?" He's like, "Yes, we're gonna."
He's like, it would have been better if he said no.
Yes, no question. She's like, "Oh,
and
well,
I
are you
need a
going
hammer. I need rope. I need duct tape and more plastic wrap."
Yes, absolutely. Because he's like, and we're not taking the baby to have the baby at the hospital. We're doing it at home. So I'm gonna need, and that's where the kind lady at the Woolworths or whatever it was, at the Alpha Beta, is helping him load up his cart with all the crap he'd need, including, take this video on breastfeeding, essentially. And you already know where this is going. At this point, I'm like, okay. All bad. And he had his eye on some woman at the store, and he dresses up in the overalls. I'm just doing the whole damn plot, by the way.
Word for word.
Word for word. It says like Carlos on the lapel.
It is clearly not a Carlos.
Not a Carlos. Blonde hair, blue eyes. Although Chuck Norris is also a Carlos. So who's to say?
It's true.
And he goes in there, I'm here to check your water and power or whatever. We've had some complaints. And the lady's like, oh, come on in. He goes into the bathroom, closes the door, and just unlocks the window. That's all he does. It says, everything's fine. Maybe I'll see you soon. And bounces.
Maybe I will when you're sleeping.
Oh, that scene was chilling.
Up. It was chilling.
It was, oh no. And so
because that's what you do. If someone says they're from the utilities and they need to get into your house, you let them in.
This whole movie kind of reminded me. I watched that movie Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. It was the American version. There was a Swedish version based on the book. And there's a scene towards the end of the movie where Daniel Craig knows this dude is skeevy, is probably a murderer, all sorts of. So he's kind of staking out the house. And then of course the dude pulls up behind him and is like, "Hey, how you doing?" It's like, I'm fine. It's like, why don't you come and have a drink? And he's like,
stranger?
Well, they had met previously, so they knew each other, but it's like over the course of the movie, he's kind of solved the mystery. And like, oh, so you're the bad guy. But he's like, okay, maybe just one. Of course, that's not the right answer. The right answer is, I'm busy. But you have to say, why are you here then? Okay, you'd have to be prepared to answer that next question. Or just say, F off, I'm out of here. I don't care what you think. But
I'm taking a nap. I'm too drunk to drive home as I want to. I like to get drunk, drive my car, and fall asleep in strange neighborhoods. That's my hobby.
It's just what I do. But of course, so the guy, the bad guy gets the drop on him in this movie. And now he wakes up and he's literally trussed up in the murder room. Mm-hmm. And Stellan Skarsgård, who is the bad guy, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
It's all good if you got a Skarsgård in it.
Right, because there's a Skarsgård in this movie as well. Oh. It all ties together. And he basically says, when I met you outside the house, you knew something was wrong, right? And he's kind of looking at him. He's like, but there's something about humanity where we're just kind of like, I don't want to appear impolite or rude, even in the face of danger. So we'll just kind of allow ourselves to be put in danger because we don't want to appear impolite. And that's kind of what this movie is as well.
And I don't see that in men, though. That's definitely women.
It's definitely, I think what you'll find, and this is where it's like date rape and things like this occur, is where it's like a woman is put into a position where she has to say, hell no, get away from me. And oftentimes society kind of has beaten that out of her in a way. And that's kind of what the guy was saying when he wrote this, and at least the first half, before it's crazy mommy running around down in the dungeon.
Before it's just bad, crazy mommy. There were no red flags for her.
At that point, we're out of flags. We're out of flags at that point. But it was just kind of an interesting thing where it's like people will walk into the lion's den rather than appear rude. Is what it is. It's a weird
It's
thing
true.
that
It's a weird
people do.
phenomenon. I agree.
So, but I have to say, I'm going to jump ahead. When it's back in the dungeon with Justin Long and the woman, it's like you kind of vacillate because what we were asking, who is the barbarian in this movie? Is it the original abductor guy from the 80s who it's later revealed had kidnapped dozens of women,
Right.
dragged them down here, kept them as like his prisoner, and raped them and made them have children? And I guess we're supposed to think that there's like a long series of crazy mutant children that were raised down there. But we only meet one thing. We only meet one creature who could have been the age of somebody born in 1980, right?
Right.
So where are the other mutants? And where are the women that were abducted?
And Barbarian, you're either a member of a tribe or you're just simply an uncultured person.
That's true.
What does that mean? What does that mean as far as this? Is it the Skarsgård living in a temple of filth and depravity? Or
he's not the guy. Skarsgård was the innocent dude who was killed at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, I thought
yes.
Sorry. Is it the dude living in tunnels with his inbred kin, or is it the Hollywood insider?
Well, in a way, it was. I have to say, there's that scene. So I'm just going to jump ahead because I almost felt that was the most shocking moment of the movie.
I mean, that's the most shocking thing because the one creature is what he is, versus you have the Hollywood dude who is like a chameleon. He's presenting one way when reality is he has a darker nature.
Oh, and on some level, he's unaware of his darker nature because it's like later in the movie, somehow I don't remember. He takes a gun and he accidentally shoots the girl trying to escape. Basically, like they're both he's trying to escape. He sees the girl in the distance, thinks it's a monster, shoots her, realizes what he did. Oh, damn, helps her. They try to escape. They go to like some hobo encampment who's like, you'll be safe here. I've lived here for 15 years, never had any problems. I knew he was dead the moment he said that. Yeah. She smashes through a cinder block wall, rips his arm off, beats him to death with it. But when this goes down, Justin Long immediately jumps up and bolts. Now he's not as concerned about, oh, I'm so sorry I accidentally shot you. He's essentially ditching her. She's trying to keep up, but she's shot, and she's like, oh, wait for me. He's like, hurry up, hurry up. They get to the top of the water tower, trying to escape the creature, essentially. And you see the arithmetic. Well, I have to, before I get to that, there's a scene
I got to stop you right now.
Go ahead.
They're equal. They're just both sociopaths. One has just been able to get by longer.
Well, and that's the thing.
He's more functioning because we really don't have much of the story about the old man in the tunnel, right? We just have a glimpse into what he has done. But really, they're both sociopaths. One was better able to hide it. And
I think that's
I'm
true.
sure sociopaths don't realize that they have no empathy, that they are not they're not getting it. One's a beginner and one's an advance, I think.
He is sitting around the fire with the hobo crying. You know, am I just a bad person?
Yes, about crying about himself.
Yes. Didn't I, am I a bad person because of the things I'm like now just realizing? And then he kind of lets himself off the hook. Or am I just somebody who made a bad choice one time? He kind of lets himself off the hook. So they go upstairs, running away from the monster. The top of this thing, there's nowhere to go. And you see the calculation go on in his head. Oh, if she wants us, she's going to get us. Unless she only gets one of us.
Right. And who does she want more?
Right. Well, and I think at that point, I don't think he cares. He's just, as long as it ain't me. And to have that kind of calculation, look, when you're under stress and it's life or death, I can understand. I'm not going to be as heroic as I'd like to think I would be in these kind of life or death moments. But when you're like, I am literally going to do something I'm going to actively kill you, essentially, to try to get away. That's a whole nother level.
It's a whole different level. It's not like the shark, like in Jaws, well, the shark is up to your knees and your friend just says, "Deuces, friend," and runs off. This would be if your friend picked you up and fed you to the shark, so the shark would be occupied while you kayaked out of there.
That's correct. So the monster creature that lived under the earth basically was wanting a baby. So whenever these people would wander in, if they could remain relatively calm, she would just treat them like their baby. She would feed them with a bottle, and if they were feeling fussy, she might give them the boob. Essentially, is what it is.
Justin Long got what he got. He got an old leather boob.
That's right. Now, and they literally say, as long as you're calm, you'll be okay. It's just if you react wildly or violently, then you're getting your head squished. Essentially.
Right. And she kept trying to tell him that. And of course, it's horrifying. Right. And he just wouldn't listen to her, dismissed her. Because she's a woman. She lives in a cage. What would she know? She's only been there for months.
So at the top of the water tower, he basically says, "You want your baby? Here's your baby." And he grabs the woman who has, again, already been shot by him.
Who saved him.
Who saved him. Came back to rescue him and takes a bullet for her troubles. Mm-hmm. He pitches her off the top of the thing, which is like 40 feet off the ground, at least, saying, "Here's your baby." She's falling, and you do see the monster basically dive off the water tower to rescue the woman.
She literally lands on the mother to cushion her fall.
The mother twists to take the brunt of the fall to save the baby. Right? Mm-hmm. And I remember when he pitched her off, said, "Here's your baby," I literally my breath just shot out of I couldn't believe it.
It was shocking.
It was shocking. I was like, oh my God.
There's no question now over his mental state. Right. Pure sociopath.
Totally. He's an evil dude. He's evil. So he comes back down there, and miraculously, the woman survived because she landed on Mom. And he's like, oh, I'm so glad you're alive. I had no idea. I mean, you understand why I did. I mean, it was a tough decision, blah, blah, blah. Immediately, Mama pops up right as rain, totally fine.
Even though there's blood pouring from her head. You see when they've fallen, there's blood pouring from Mama's head onto the street. Mom pops right back up.
Picks him up by the throat, and you see her long nails go right into his eyeballs. It was like a Fulci moment. It was full Fulci. And then she just rips him in half. Boom. Yeah. Bye-bye, Justin Long.
Okay, why didn't she do that to her crusty old pop, by the way? FYI.
Who knows? Who knows what's going on there? And then there's that, of course, that moment where Justin Long discovers that Pop is still alive down in the dungeon. Ooh. He's an old, shriveled creature, though. At death's door. And he discovers, the videotape collection. And he's so sanctimonious. How could you do these things? When clearly
he's the monster. Oh, yeah.
He's I don't know.
And how many are you going to watch, Justin Long, to figure out what... I mean, why did you need to watch any of them? Redhead Girl from Gas Station. I mean, come on.
Yeah, Crying a Lot was one of the labels. I mean, they were awful. The labels told you something was up. And I have to go back. We knew he was bad, the fact that he wasn't bothered by the murder room.
Yeah.
Right?
He's cruised right past that. Not a thought. You and I would be just looking at it. We're like, forget the F out. This is hostile. We're going to be sent to some Moldova or some Eastern Bloc place and sold to, I don't know, terrorists. It's all bad. Get the out of here.
Well, and you wonder, I mean, now granted, Mama Monster down below murders the dude that we first see, but for the most part, she's not that bad.
But I mean, you could. She's raised in a cave and tunnels. You
Right.
can forgive her. These are not calculated things.
Right. She's like Nell from that Jodie Foster movie. It's
She's
basically,
like Nell. She's like a feral cat. If a feral cat bites you for picking him up, that's on you.
it's true.
Don't just let her breastfeed you and just
Just
go
let
about
her
your business.
breastfeed you. No question. No question. Now she turns around and tries to comfort her baby who fell off the thing.
Right.
And I think now, what do you think? Do you think that mom was like, kill me? Because she kind of points at her head, and the woman like had the handgun was there. Multiple times Justin Long drops the handgun or drops the knife that he could have used. He was
He
Butterfingers.
deserves whatever he got. It was kind of sad. It reminded me of that scene in Nope with the little monkey with the fist bumps.
It was.
And that's what it reminded me of, because then you feel bad because like the poor creature is like, baby mama.
It was. It was.
I didn't notice the head tapping, but she obviously knew what a gun was and didn't get out of the way.
Yep. It's true.
If it was those boys with the gun, that would have been it.
Oh, forget about it.
I say this is a genuinely creepy movie with a little bit of humor and lots of twists.
Oh, no question. There's a lot of good things. Now, again, like I said, the moment you marinate on it, you're very much like, I got some questions.
I mean, the title. There are some great shots though, when it's revealed what the neighborhood looks like the next morning, because all you see is a rain, this really cute little Airbnb. And then in the morning when the sun comes up, you realize every house in the neighborhood is burned down and in shreds, and there's not a soul around.
Not a soul. Well, she arrives at night.
Yeah.
So
in
all
the
we
pouring
can see,
rain.
in the pouring rain, all we can see are these structures, but you notice there are no lights anywhere. Which you figure, like, if this was just a normal neighborhood, there should be lights. It isn't until the next day that it's revealed, oh, yes, this is the one. I would, as an investment property, Justin Long, I'd say you didn't do your due diligence, at the very least.
And
right?
we didn't even talk about the part where she escapes and tries to get the police to come and help.
Oh, yes. That was awful.
And they think she's a crackhead and threaten to arrest her and just blow her off.
They do. That was awful. Right.
Awful.
And I mean, especially nowadays, I swear to God, over the last 10 years, have there been like 5, 6, 10 like women who've escaped from these kind of scary abductions where they've been held prisoner for 10 years?
Yes.
I mean, how can you just be like,
I'm
whatever.
not even going to go check it out. I'm not even going to check it out. And I'm going to arrest you for being a crackhead, because she's filthy, but she's totally coherent.
Lucid. Yes.
She's lucid. Oh yeah. Awful. I'm like, we need to go burn down Detroit. Well, it looks like it already was.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, there was that scene from 1980 where the crazy abductor is like, at that time, it's a beautiful neighborhood, beautiful homes, and the neighbor's like, we're selling. My wife's concerned if we don't sell now, we may never be able to sell. And the creepy dude's like, I'm not going anywhere.
I wasn't sure if it was white flight or if it's the writing on the walls of the auto industry. But I guess in the 80s, it had to be white flight.
I mean, it could be anything.
A black person moved in the neighborhood. We all have to leave.
They didn't say that specifically, but it could be, because you got to remember, I mean, there are really beautiful areas of Detroit.
All right.
They're really, absolutely. I mean, Grosse Pointe is like, a multi-million-dollar place. It's just a sad state of what's happened. Now I'm going to get into the sociological jag here of how industry has left a lot of these Rust Belt states, and they've just been decimated.
And they rusted. Yeah. Auto industry gone. All these things are gone. And so people had to leave. They just abandoned whole cities. What are you going to do?
Awful.
Everybody can open an independent coffee house.
No, you can't. It's a sad situation.
It's like Roger and me. They're like, people are making $60 an hour and they're wanting to retrain them to work at Taco Bell.
That's not a real retraining situation, I'd have to
No.
argue. Shall we go behind the scenes?
Lay it on me, brother.
Barbarian! Give me a minute. I had it open, and then of course the app.
What's happening?
This is top drawer all the way. Behind the scenes, the script. I think I said this. The script started out after Zach Krager read the book The Gift of Fear, which encourages women to trust their intuition when confronted with by obviously dangerous men. He used it as a writing exercise and began crafting a 30-minute short that consisted entirely of a conversation in which a woman continues to ignore a mounting series of red flags.
I mean, even now, listen to me. How many trainings that tell us, yeah, I mean, they're anti-racist trainings, but all the microaggression, everything else, everything it tells us that we are wrong and we need to ignore. If it's late at night and there's 6 like teenagers of any color marching down the street, you should just keep going right through them, because otherwise you're a racist.
That is kind of a thing, isn't it?
It is. How many things they're like, you don't even know how racist you are.
Well, I mean, we can be sensitive to people of different different colors, creeds, backgrounds, and national or places of national origin, while at the same time being like, this is a really shitty neighborhood, so I probably shouldn't roll down here by myself.
Now, am I racist because I'm like in New York or some major metropolitan area and I don't feel comfortable walking down a dark alley because there's men in there? Should I just keep going?
Here's the thing. You're racist anyway. Regardless of whatever choice you make in that situation, you're racist.
That's right.
No, but it's true. Women, trust your intuition. Do not put yourself in dangerous situations, basically, is what we're trying to do here. Let's see. Zac Efron was originally offered the role of AJ, and he turned it down.
Good.
So they rethought it, and it became Justin Long, and he accepted it.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect for it.
And he's not in any of the ads. You wouldn't even know he was in this.
No, that's what's the beauty. It's like a surprise. You're like,
it's a surprise.
I like that.
Boom. Although not officially credited in any way, Jordan Peele was an invisible hand in shaping
Woo! It did have the feel. Now, do we have to go Google and find hidden meaning to all of this?
Absolutely.
Whenever you see a Skarsgård, an angel gets a wing. That's what it means.
The film was set on 476 Barbary Street. The year 476 was when the barbarians invaded Rome.
I knew it. That's a Peele. That's a Peele situation. If only they were eating raw rabbits.
The Hollywood Reporter expose on AJ is written by Kim Masters, who's a real-life reporter in the trade publication. There you go. And she became known for breaking stories about men in the film and TV industry who have been accused of sexual assault after the Harvey Weinstein thing.
Good for her. What if Harvey Weinstein was in one of the tunnels?
Maybe he was the creature. Who's to say?
He was he really lost a lot of weight living in the cave.
When AJ goes through the luggage at the Airbnb, he opens Keith's suitcase, and there is a copy of Jane Eyre under his clothes. Jane Eyre.
Yeah.
Like the mother in this movie, Jane Eyre features an insane woman who's locked away.
Okay. That's not a big threat.
No, feeling that.
Not doing it. So that makes her Jane Eyre. And then who's what's the love interest? I can't remember his name.
It's not Heathcliff. That's Wuthering Heights.
No, that's Wuthering Heights. It doesn't matter. I hated Jane
damn
Eyre.
Bronte sisters.
Jane Eyre was had such a stick up her ass. I preferred Crazy Kathy.
Coincidentally, or perhaps not so coincidentally, the title includes the letters AIRBN and B, which spell Airbnb. Coincidence? Who's to say?
Who's to say?
The screen aspect ratio shifts from today's widescreen to an older standard ratio when the story shifts from the present day to the 80s.
Oh, I think maybe I noticed that. Now that you say that.
It's kind of subtle. It's kind of subtle, but it's good.
It did have
Good
a
choices.
fascinating vibe. Yeah.
Let's talk about the cast and crew. This story was written and directed by Zach Krager. You know him from.
Is Krager a real name? Isn't that what we call our brother-in-law's cousin, the
It's
Krager?
possible.
That's not a real name.
He wrote Barbarian. He wrote about Wrecked, or directed Wrecked, executive produced
Wreck-It Ralph?
Sasquatch. He did all sorts of stuff.
Sasquatch? How is that not on our radar? That's a thing?
Could be. Who's to say? Tess, the main character, was played by Georgina Campbell, who's British, by the way. You know her from Black Mirror, Suspicion, All My Friends Hate Me, and Barbarian. You know her, don't you?
I want to see All My Friends Hate Me. That's getting buzz right now. And Black Mirror, I haven't watched it, but I know a lot of people enjoy that.
Bill Skarsgård played Keith, the nice guy, wrongly accused, you could argue. He was Pennywise in the two It movies. He was Zeitgeist in Deadpool 2, and he was Matthew in Allegiant. Bill, if you're listening,
Skarsgård. Are they reproducing?
They should. Just like
they're the new Baldwins.
Yes. I always say he's the less attractive Skarsgård brother. No offense, Bill. Because his brother played Eric Northman on the...
Okay. He's clearly the Alec of the Skarsgårds. And then you have fathers and grandchildren, and it all falls away from there. Eric Northman.
Who's the Alec? Who's the Alec?
Eric Northman is the Alec.
Alexander Skarsgård. His father is Stellan Skarsgård.
Right.
But I mean, Bill Skarsgård, very talented guy.
Oh, no, I'm not saying. I mean, the problem with the Baldwins is as attractiveness falls away, so did talent. The Skarsgårds, the talent continues through.
I like to say that Alexander is the Dennis and Bill is the Randy, if you will. It's very sad. Justin Long played AJ. You know him from...
First of all, you know he's a douche with the name AJ.
AJ McBride. He was in Live Free or Die Hard. He was in Jeepers Creepers, which we might want to look at. He was in Galaxy Quest, which I love, which we haven't done. He was in Accepted. He's been in a ton of stuff. Nonstop. Dodgeball.
No, he was in He's Just Not That Into You.
Yeah. Ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Matthew Patrick Davis played the mother. You know him from Barbarian. He was in Henry Danger as Kevin for several years. Good grief. He was in...
Why do they have a man? Why do they have a man playing Mama?
They do that. They did that in the movie Mama as well. Where it's like, because they don't want an attractive woman, they want a hideous freak of a man, basically, to play these things.
Someone near organ failure who is 7 feet tall but only weighs like $150.
That is correct. Okay, Richard Brake played Frank, who was the 1980s crazy abductor guy.
He looked familiar.
He was creepy. He's Welsh. He's a Welsh actor. He was in Doom. He was in 31. He was in Kingsman: The Secret Service. He was in Hannibal. He's been in a ton of stuff.
Oh, Hannibal the movie, Hannibal the series?
Hannibal the movie.
Oh, that's too bad. That's the lesser Hannibal.
And there we go. That's all we need to know. Should we talk about the rating?
Lay it on me, Brother Bear.
Barbarian. Currently, 92% certified fresh. Look at that.
I say that's about right.
Audience score? What do you think?
Low. 70s. Oh, isn't that crazy?
70, right. Which I think is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's a solid film. It's a nail biter. You're not getting the twitchies. You're in for it. You're tucked in.
It is definitely that kind of film where you're like, this is creepy. And it has real strong moments where you have a definite reaction.
Oh, yeah. I screamed multiple times. My friend who I went with, I could tell her. She never screamed, but every time I would scream, I'd just get a side eye. Like, are you all right?
So she's somebody who'd
Mostly
give it a
mine were
70.
gasps. I did a lot of that's
Oh,
me
no
at
question.
the theater.
No question. But it's not the kind of movie that's going to give you nightmares or things
No.
like that. You know what I
No,
mean?
no, no.
It's good for this holiday season.
It's
Good
not the
stuff.
Sophie's choice of horror films.
It is not the Sophie's choice of horror films. There's a bunch of top critics, but there's none that I recognize. There's Nick Allen from RogerEbert.com says the swaths of Pitch Black and Barbarian are no fun to stare at, but your heart rate may agree. Doesn't sound like a positive review, but he
Kind
gave
of
it 3 out of
bullshit.
4, so I don't know how to take that. Very upsetting.
Interesting.
Let's see if I can find another one that's halfway decent. David Fear from Rolling Stone magazine. Now that's a name. David Fear. Krager started off a sketch comic co-founding The Whitest Kids You Know, but knows exactly how to conjure up dread, utilize jump scares, and play the tension and release. And oh, hey, here's an even more tension game that characterize Best in Show creep fests. So that's a positive review. I think it's great. I do say that there's a lot of questions, a lot of things that don't make 100% sense.
Right, you gotta just roll with it. Yeah, you gotta just roll
with it. As a purely, visceral experience, dynamite. Top drawer.
Absolutely.
All the way.
I
What is
agree.
your rating? Hit me.
Okay. I am going to give it 4.1 Skarsgårds, Haunting My Dreams out of 5.
I'm going to give it 4.25 leathery nipples from Mama.
Poking you in the eye.
Poking you right in the eye.
He deserved that, though.
He deserved it. You get what you get.
Our listeners, Justin Long is grabbed in like a chokehold, and she is trying to put this giant, like thumb-sized nipple into his mouth, and he is fighting it.
He's not happy about it. Let's just say that.
Oh, Lord.
But he gets what he gets.
He gets what he gets because he wouldn't listen to a woman because he's a sexist sociopath.
And he's a crazed rapist. I mean, the mama could very easily say, like, well, it took some convincing. But eventually.
But he took to the nipple eventually.
He took to the nipple eventually.
She should have left his ass right where she left him. It's actually her fault.
Oh, no question. No question. So thank you very much. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcastTWDie. Go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Aaron, are we on Instagram?
What about our Gmail?
I do that after. I know what I'm doing, young lady.
We are on the IG. We are, in fact, The Podcast That Wouldn't Die.
Good times. You can also email us at the podcast that wouldn't die at Gmail. And I gotta say, we've got fan mail drifting in with movie suggestions.
Love it.
Love it. If you, I'll make you this pledge. If you email us a movie suggestion, we're doing that movie. Boom.
Hell yeah.
Boom.
Well,
within reason.
Within reason. I have a weak stomach. Most likely we will.
Generally speaking, we put you to the top of the list. So there you go.
Keep in mind, we've already done Cannibal Holocaust. So don't mention that one again.
Actually, we have not done Cannibal Holocaust.
I want to see Hannibal Holocaust.
Hannibal Holocaust. No, we've done none of that. So there you have it.
Wait a minute. Then why did I watch Cannibal Holocaust if we didn't record it?
It was on Joe Bob.
Why didn't we record it?
I mean, we could have. We just have to go back and rewatch it. Enjoy.
Son of a biscuit. All right.
We are on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So don't forget to like, share, rate, and review. Won't you?
Review.
Aaron, are you on social media? What are your personal social media accounts?
Diddly do. I weekly check my Twitter.
Ooh.
But I obsessively check my Instagram, which is The Cult of Aaron. Join the cult, won't you? I'm also Don't Feed the Pigeon on the gram. And then professionally, I have an account on Artsy, Aaron Doherty, Buy My Polaroids, and First Dibs, Aaron Doherty. Do it.
Boom shakalaka. Next week, we'll be discussing the horror classic Vamp, starring Chris Makepeace, Getty Watanabe, and of course the immortal Grace Jones. So you have that to look forward to. You can watch that.
Do you know Grace Jones is touring right now?
With
Herself.
what's his name? With herself.
David Bowie.
Yes, it's an all-star cast.
What do you mean with who? I
was gonna say with crap. That his name jumped out of my mind. From Bugsy Malone. Who was it? Who is she touring with? Not Scott Baio, but the guy who wrote the music. What is his name?
Oh, Paul Williams.
Paul
Williams. Oh my God.
I don't think she really is, but this joke's taking too long to percolate.
If you have to explain it.
Not that funny. You can watch Vamp currently on Hoopla. You can watch it with ads on Tubi, on Arrow Video, and I guess for free on something called Plex. So you can check that out.
I have never seen it, Kevin.
I have never seen it either.
Ooh.
Boom! So we're going deep. I've wanted to watch it for a while, so we're doing this good stuff.
All right, it's on. It's the season.
It is the season. So send us any favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, and questions, and we may talk about it on the show. So thank you very much, and be well.
Be well, my children.